Bienvenidos y welcome to the Biz Bruja podcast, where we're claiming our powerful intuition, our sacred medicina, embracing our magic and healing ancestral patterns, invoke powerful creations in our own well-being, our lives, familias, community, and our businesses. Remembering that our businesses are so important at this time. I'm the creatrix of this blogcast, the Biz Bruja herself, Vanessa Codorniu, a modern-day bruja, fourth-generation psychic medium, clinical hypnotist, energy healer, and soul biz mentor and coach. An Argentine-American who started reading adults at 16, became a professional intuitive at 22, and now guides creatives, intuitives, healers, and entrepreneurs to break through fears, connect to the practical power of their intuition so they can serve the world powerfully. Hello, my beautiful people. Bienvenidos, mi gente hermosa. I did not want to let this full moon, this blue full moon, go by before hopping on and speaking on it and guiding us into a mini meditation. I have held circles in the last couple of days in my own Bruja Rising community where we do 2 events a month. It is a new moon event where we usually do it in the evening, Eastern Standard Time around 8. So then the folks in California can make it after 5. And then we have a day event around 1 o'clock so people can make it maybe during their lunch hour. And both of those events, one of them is for releasing, clearing, and energy healing, and then setting intentions, right? The new moon. And the full moon is Bruja Oracle office hours, which means we all hop on or people email me their questions. We open the records and we get the inner guidance that we are seeking. So if you're interested in that, let me know. If you're part of my comunidad already in the School of the Healing Artes, it's only $21.99. If you're interested and you're not part of the community, it is $29.99. But again, it's 2 full events a month, nothing else. And you won't get a million emails from me. You just know these are the dates and that's what we do. So I didn't intend to share about that, but so many people have been like, wow, we don't talk about that membership. And I'm like, yeah, because I intentionally keep it very intimate. Most of the people who've been in that membership have been around for 4 years. So if you're looking for an intimate membership where there are only 2 events a month, just DM me, let me know, and I'll send you more info. Okay, let's talk about this blue full moon in Aquarius. It is important because of so many reasons. One of my family members was like, can a moon just be a moon? And I'm like, to an astrologer, not so much, right? Not so much, because it's not just a moon. There are always themes that are coming up, and we can use it for our personal development. We can tap into the themes of the particular signs and the planets and what's happening in the stars collectively, personally, so we can grow, so we can make the best of it, and we can make the most of it. So this is not to bring in any fear, any drama, any trauma. It's actually supposed to help you not have drama and maybe address some of the hidden, unspoken, or unconscious, subconscious trauma that we may be carrying. I wanted to talk about the full moon in Aquarius because when you think of Aquarius, and I'll go into specifics about the sign, but when I think of Aquarius, it is a visionary, it's a humanitarian, it's like, woo, work our weird, be and do who we are, who we be. It's all about authenticity. At the heart of it, though, is that some of us have hidden our weird, are different, are unique, are authentic. And we have had to blend to survive for many different reasons, right? Whether it's racism, oppression, sexism, homophobia, whether it's like, well, I'm not a corporate person, I'm an artist, fear of the artist life. There's a lot of us that have some trauma around being unique and different. And then there's folks who go the opposite way. They rebel so much because they're like, F you, I give no Fs, and I'm going to be the weirdest, craziest, whatever thing that I can imagine, but still not in their authenticity because they're kind of trying to go against the tide just to rebel. So see what I'm saying? There's this energy of rebelling, revolutionary, being different, but some are hiding it because they're afraid of being attacked and being different. And some people are going extreme. And even if they wanted to maybe do things that might be similar to others, will hold back because they're like, no, I'm going to rebel against society. And so there's this place, I think, the middle path where we can be authentically revolutionary, authentically radical to our soul's purpose and to who we are without just doing it for doing its sake, right? Like teenagers do that. They're like, yeah, I actually agree with my mom, but I'm going to fight her on it because, damn, I don't want to do what my mom says or my dad suggests. That happens, right? In that phase of rebellion. And then there's also the thing where like, oh, I have this idea, but I'm not going to do it because it's not trendy. It's not cool. Nobody likes it. I shared it with my friends and everybody thinks I'm weird. So there are these two extremes of hiding in plain sight that happens, right? And then rebelling for rebelling's sake. So where do we go for healing? Let's talk a little bit about the cycle of this moon. And the cycle is that it is a full moon. When we talk about the dark moon, we don't see it in the sky. And we all know that the moon is always in the sky, okay? So it's not like there's just a sliver of moon. La luna es la luna. It's going to be in the sky. It's always there. But it depends on how the Earth is rotating. It depends on where all of the movements of the planets and the Earth, where we see different parts of the moon. But that's also like us, right? Who sees us at our fullness all the time? They don't, because we are multidimensional. There's so many phases to us. You know, if they see us when we've lost somebody that we love, we're going to be a certain way. If people see us on the best day of our lives, we're going to be a certain way. Of course, there are elements, characteristics that keep us the same, just like the moon. And so the moon is reflecting our multidimensionality. It's reflecting how many levels and phases that we also have, humanity has, and even the projects, right? Because when our project starts, there's like this blank slate or an idea, then we have to fill it out. We plan it, we create it, we ground it, we put the seeds in, we gather teams, right, to carry out the project, and then we watch it bloom, blossom, and then at the end, we harvest and we sit around and go, okay, what was great about this project? What didn't work? Ideally, right? And so in the same way, the moon comes in dark. We see it at the beginning of the month or the end of the month, depends on your perspective. And that's a time to clear away, to start at like a blank slate. Now, we know we're not truly a blank slate because even all of the moons in their full lunations, from dark to full to, to waning and then dark again, they are part of a cycle. So every time we see a full moon 6 months before, something else was created in the new moon in that sign. We created a new way of being, or we continue to know a way of being. And when the full moon comes into play, we can get more information on that project or on that relationship or on that situation. So we work in these 6-month flows. We work in those about monthly flows, right? For women as well, during a certain time of our lives, right? And the dark moon is a time where we release, where we heal, where we like excavate ourselves and go within and go, okay, like what worked about how I handled my marriage or my work or my projects? What didn't work, right? How did I handle my creatividad, my creativity? And so the dark moon allows us to have this time where we could look inward because there's no moon in the sky that we can see, visible to the eye. But it is a blank slate. It is rich fodder for ideas. It is the dark soil in which we can plant our seeds of imagination, creation, and healing. And that is a beautiful time to do that. As the moon starts to show herself, right? Luna starts to show herself and she starts to have a little crescent. It grows. It is the waxing moon. That is a beautiful time to follow up on what you initiated, what you cleared and initiated during the dark moon, right? It's a time to set intentions. It's a time to place those seeds, dark moon and new moon, which, by the way, has no moon in the sky. As you start to see the crescent, this is where we continue to take actions to really feed the intentions we've been working on. Because a lot of people think like magically, well, my intention is I'm going to take care of myself better. I'm going to have more self-care. I'm going to have increase my fitness. But then there's no plan. There's no like, okay, I'm going to walk. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start training, or I'm going to do meditation. I'm going to do yoga. There's no plan. And that's the thing. You know, I believe in magic, but I believe in a magic that is powered by our desire, by our soul, by our feelings, by our emotions, and it's backed up with actions in this present time. I can wish to be a published author, but if I don't sit down and maybe block out my schedule and show up to write consistently, maybe not going to be a published author, right? And so every time I've created a program or I have published an article or even done a podcast, it's taking those physical, practical steps. And during the moon, when it's waxing, during the crescent moon, when it's waxing, it's growing in the sky, this is where we're taking those steps. We are following up on the actions of the initiations that we started, right, in the beginning, in the new moon, and we're following it up. Now, what happens in the full moon, right, it's like a big old full moon. I don't have a clear crystal, but I do have this, right, obsidian, I believe. Yes, it's obsidian. And it's a great stone for protection. Somebody gave it to me for just that. One of my students back in New York City and Queens. And so this full moon, right, we see a little bit, we see a little bit, we see a little bit, and now it's full. It is symbolic of being able to see the fullness of your project, stepping back and saying to yourself, okay, I've been developing this project for 2 weeks or, almost 6 months. What is at hand? What worked? What didn't? When I used to apply for jobs in my early 20s, I used to, during the dark moon, meditate with myself and be like, what's keeping me from going from my dream job? Insecurities in my resume or this or that, or I don't have the right training, or what is it? And then in the new moon, I would send out that revamped letter specifically to the job. I would send out the revamped resume, send it out in new moon. As 2 weeks went by the full moon, inevitably, I would have already set up appointments or have already had some interviews for the jobs or phone calls or emails. And so the full moon allows us to step back and get the greater view of the situation, right? It's right there. It's in our face. And right now I'm putting the big old sphere into the eye of the camera if you're on the podcast. And you can say, wow, this is the wholeness of the project. So I'm kind of sharing, the way I've planned events and the way I plan things. Sometimes I am very cyclical. I know that human nature is cyclical and healing is cyclical. Relationships are cyclical. Everything under the moon and stars and sun is cyclical. Even in places where we don't have seasons, right? Like there's a lot of beautiful islands where we don't have a lot of seasons. There's still hurricane season. There's still monsoon season. There's still some sort of season that we could follow. That's not a 4 season. I personally love the 4 season because I love to look at how my life or my projects or how I'm developing whatever I'm working on, how that is also flowing in a cycle. When the full moon is this full, we get to step back. So the invitation is for you to step back and sit back and say to yourself, okay, let's say like I finished Fringe, right, in Harrisburg. We sit back and we say, well, how did it go? How would I do it different? What I'm extremely proud of. We look at this fullness, and how do I continue, right? How do I continue what I'm doing? Because that full moon is the full view, the bird's eye view, the big holistic perspective on a relationship, on your health. So it's not about micro details. It is about the fullness. And so if you're listening to this, apply that ideology, right? We're in the full moon. So take a peek at something you've been working on, your business, your career, your love life, your health, whatever it may be, and step back for a minute, get an objective point of view. Now, a lot of folks are like, well, with the full moon is people get cray-cray and all that. Of course, the moon is full. It's going to affect us. We're 75% water. There's also a lot of myth and lore around it that we turn into werewolves, parts of the world, that all crazy things and vampires and such. And the old mystical, mythical Middle Ages, that's what we saw. And then after that, Dark Ages, Middle Ages, and post that. But I would say that what happens in the full moon that would lend itself to that lore and to that myth is that things come to a conclusion, things come to the surface, and emotions that were brewing underneath the surface might explode in a full moon. So that's where we come out with lunatic, right? Luna is moon. Lunatic, lunático in Espanol, la luna, el lunático. Like I was like, oh, if I have a daughter when I was little, I want to call her Luna. People are like, oh, they're going to call her una lunatic, una lunática. I'm like, no, it means lover of the moon. But, I didn't have a daughter, so she was spared. But still, Luna is a gorgeous name if you have that. So where was I? Because I'm all over the place. Getting back. So what happens is when we think of the full moon, and we're looking at this fullness of the project, things are also going to amp up, right? Like emotions that you've been like keeping under. It could be like a relationship that finally like, boom, you're like, you can't hide from the truth anymore. Or career where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this shit just went down. And now I have to face the truth. So the full moon, not always, and it doesn't have to be scary. It could be like a great completion to a project. It could be a midpoint to the project, or it doesn't have to be completion. It could be like a midpoint where you're like, wow, we're having great progress. Let's keep going for another 2 weeks, right? Until the moon is dark again and we start again in that phase. But it could also be that something that you have not wanted to look at, you've been like, no puedo, no quiero, right? I'm hiding behind my fingers. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at it. And then the thing just like goes, look at me because I'm not hiding, right? So it's that fear in your face. The fullness of the reality of how you feel, what you think, or what you know comes to the surface, and therefore we are forever changed by it. So that's how I see the full moon. And it's also a time of integration, because after you've looked at this like big, perspective, you're also, well, now I have to integrate this awareness, this understanding, or do I have to make decisions on how to move forward, how to handle what I am now observing and what I am understanding, or what emotional truth or mental truth or physical truth has come to the surface during this full moon. Now, when the full moon starts to wax, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. This is when we start to see the conclusion of something. Again, a great time to assess when the moon is dark, when it's like a sliver about to go into darkness. How did the last 4 weeks go? What did I grow? What is ending? What needs to be shed at this time? And what do I need to bring in? Like if a project went okay, but we need to add more people to it or hire more people, then at the dark moon, we'd say, okay, let's let go of the fears that we don't have enough for the budget. So the new moon, we're going to put out that ad and see what happens, right? The job ad to try to attract the person for this job. And so this is a very cyclical way of looking at things. The lunar cycles help us. We could apply it to our workouts, to our physicality, to our a project that's a creative project, a relationship. And so that's enough for the full moon. Now the full moon is in Aquarius. So I wrote some notes, so I want to throw down over here a little bit. So I wanted to give you that whole kind of perspective of how I look at the lunar cycles. Now, the full moon was in Aquarius on August 19th, which was yesterday, 2024. And it was a cosmic event brimming with potential for transformation and enlightenment, because it's a full moon. So it's like, look at me, look at what you don't want to see. As the moon reaches its zenith in the innovative and forward-thinking sign of Aquarius, it offers a unique opportunity to reflect on and realign our personal, right? Our very personal and collective goals. Because when we experience the moon, it is both personal and it's also collective, because it's happening to all of us with the ideals of progress, independence, and humanitarianism. So the full moon is in that sign of all of those things. And, don't we need that in this planet right now? We surely do. So Aquarius is a visionary sign, which I said earlier. It's an air sign, although the image is of a woman with a jug of water pouring onto to the earth, or pouring on. So people think it's because of aqua and the water coming out of the jug. They think it's a water sign, but no, it's not. It is an air sign. It's an intellectual sign. It's about ideas. And it's ruled by Uranus or Uranus. And it's known for its association with innovation, rebellion, and a broad future-oriented perspective. It's electrical. It's like sudden change, dramatic change. Pluto, right, is that change that kind of drags you slowly into the underworld. This is like, oh my God, I didn't even know that. It's like flashes of insight, a dramatic change. And trust in my community. So many people have been like, oh my God, they're just things that I cannot ignore, or like a sudden sale of an apartment, a sudden exodus of people that they were trying to move out of a house happened, a sudden quick understanding that a relationship was not going to move forward, although there were many years in. So there's a lot of realizations. I didn't have it on the full moon, but coming into the full moon, there were realizations about friendships, right? Friendships, and also an understanding, because it's hitting my ninth house of higher self and future travel and publishing and the bigger vision, that, hey, maybe I've been running my purpose or flowing in my purpose and an outdated vision for myself. And so I've been called to, and I've been working on it, to create this new vision, because I'm not who I was 4 years ago. Obviously, I carry a lot of what I was 4 years ago, but I've moved in time and space, and so have you. So maybe if you're vibing to what I'm saying, maybe it's time to sit down and write a new mission statement for your life. Maybe readdress, or because there's a lot of retrogrades right now, namely Mercury. So it's time to reassess. And Mercury is the planet of information, of technology. So it's time to reassess, readdress, review, right? Our lives, how we're progressing. And again, I hate the word progress and success, etc., because then we start getting these flashes of what it looks like on IG, on Instagram, what it looks like on TikTok, what it looks like in our community. Each and every human being at some point has to sit with themselves. And Aquarius is a great sign for that, and break away from what we've been told is success. When I was younger, a lot of my dating revolved around adventure, going out dancing and creativity and such. Now that I'm at this stage of the game, while there's still passion and attraction, I do not need to be going out dancing every weekend, right? I don't. I wish I could, but there's so much more going on, so much improv. My husband supports me with that. And so we need to update, what are our goals or what are our desires in love? What are our desires in our career? Before I was like, I want an empire years ago. Now I'm like, you know what? I love what I do. And I also want to explore other things that may not be directly correlated to my business, but are in the artistic and creative realm. So it's time for us to review, to revisit. Now, people born under the sign of Aquarius are often seen as visionaries, driven by a desire to improve the world and challenge the status quo. Sometimes Aquarius people, they're so good. They're like the friend that you call who's going to give you the intellectual breakdown of situations. Keep it cool, not overly emotional, so they can give you the other perspective. It's not going to be that like Leo friend, because remember, Sun is in Leo. Oh my God, they insulted you. Break away, dump that person. Aquarius will usually, if that's where their sun is, it's going to come in level-headed and be like, let's pros and cons, and also what is the vision for your life? Like, do they fit who you're becoming and what you're truly wanting? Of course, I'm generalizing. Looking at somebody's chart will give you more specifics. So just keep that in mind. But in general, Aquarians do value intellectual freedom, originality, social justice, and often they advocate to change what benefits or what will benefit the collective. Now, during a full moon Aquarius, these themes become especially prominent. They come to the surface. The full moon's energy is about culmination and realization, right? And integration, seeing what's under the surface, highlighting the results of our previous efforts, as I shared, and shining a light on areas that need attention. When this lunar phase occurs in Aquarius, it could be a very powerful time, and it still is, for envisioning new possibilities and considering unconventional solutions, perspectives to long-standing issues. Now, something that's tempering or affecting this full moon, there are a couple of things, but one of them is Sun is in Leo, and Leo's all about the heart and shine your light, right? And here comes Aquarius with it has to be for humanity. It can't just be for me. So it's like shine our light with love, shine it for ourselves, and also consider community, consider others. But we've got 5 planets in retrograde, right? I've been kind of like keeping my head down because I haven't been feeling great because of the allergies. So I'm like, I'm not trying to take too much on, which is what my intuition with this astrology says for everyone. It is a time to review. It may not be a time to initiate a lot of things unless they're already in progress, right? If it was already in a process, if it was already in progress, it's fine for us to continue. But Mercury, which is a symbolic for technology, information, is retrograde. Saturn, the disciplinarian, is retrograde. Pluto, the big dramatic change that drags you into the underworld and then brings you back with greater wisdom, right? These long-standing changes is also retrograde. Neptune, spirituality and illusion. What is real, what is not? What are our wildest dreams? And are we willing to do the work to fulfill them? Neptune is retrograde, and then Chiron, the wounded healer. So when we've got 5 planets in retrograde, let's sit at home or outside in nature, if that works for you, and let's meditate a little bit, reassess, readdress, because everything's kind of going backwards. So it's the perfect time to review. And because it's almost end of summer, I think it's wonderful for us to take time to journal a little bit because soon we're going to have the fall equinox in September, about a month away. And it's going to be time to harvest, to look at our lives and see, well, what beautiful things have we created and planted and harvested? And it prepares us for the winter going within, right? It's a different experience, especially if you're in a 4-season sort of location. So that's my take on the 5 retrogrades, which is a great time to reassess, review, right? Reconsider and rewrite and readdress something that is old. What we also have right now, there was a square yesterday, right there, that sharp angle. The square is a tense position in astrology, and it's so we've got here the moon in Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, and then Uranus is in a square to Aquarius, and it's in Taurus. So it's hitting all the fixed signs because Aquarius is a fixed sign. So is the sun in Leo. Leo is a fixed sign. And now we've got Uranus in Taurus. It's a fixed sign. So there's going to be tension around things that you're really stubborn about. So open your hands and let it go. One of the lessons of this time is review and readdress, but stop killing yourself and forcing yourself to make something work that is simply not working for you. And that's something that all of us have done. Trust me, I'm a Taurus, right? So I'm going to be like, oh, let me power through. They're going to see the light. We're not supposed to work at something in such a hard way. You know, I remember going to therapy in my 20s and I was like, I do this, I do that, I do this for my relationship. There are 3 stepkids. And my therapist said, what happens if you don't work so hard? And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to fall apart. And she says, what happens if it falls apart? I'm like, it'll be a mess. She's like, but it's not your mess. And not meaning that kids are messes, right? That's not what she meant. She meant that my partner had a history. And the one who is really busting their booty to get everything together, get the kids their therapies, get the kids whatever they needed, even more than their moms to some degree, was me. I was not even married to the guy, right? So I stepped into my bravery and I said, all right, I've been taught to keep everything together. I've been taught to push through. What happens if I let go? Maybe somebody else will pick it up. Maybe somebody else will be held accountable. If I stop enabling, right, by doing all the things, and surprise, surprise, my ex-fiance actually stepped in and started doing a lot of the things. But we won't know unless we let go. And so this is also a point in our nature right now to look at, you know, where do I fight too much or where do I hold on? Where do I think I have to make everything happen myself? We are not supposed to make everything happen. We are working with the universe. We are working with others. We are in a community. And so if you're someone who's been doing all the things all the time, maybe this is time to ask for support, to get help, and to, as I say, let's take our grubby paws off our reality, right? Take each little grubby paw off, hand it over a little bit to the flow of the universe, and sit back. Tend to our nervous system, tend to our soul, to our spirit, rest a minute, sleep in, get a massage if we can, or trade or barter for one, because we are not supposed to be pushing through all the time. As a child of immigrants, and I mean, I came here as a baby, so I wasn't even born in this country. I have always felt like I have to push through. Like, you know, one of the things I heard in my home is like, we can't afford depression. We can't afford to slow down. We can't afford to sit there and be like, oh, this is too hard. We don't think it's hard. We just push through. And so it's been a whole healing thing for me over the decades to unpack, you know, and then I'm an entrepreneur, you know, a solopreneur. It's like, damn, yeah, I do everything myself. I've hired assistants and other team members throughout my last 12 years, but I really do. But I'm also working with the universe. I see myself employed by my purpose, by the universe, by my soul. And so I ask for what I need to, like, hey, give me an ally, give me support, right? Let me meet that right person that can help me with this particular thing. And so ask yourself, if you've been pushing too hard on something, where do you need to let go? Where do you need to trust the flow? Where do you need to let go enough for something to fall apart and hold space for somebody else's accountability? If we are making excuses and doing things for people all the time, we don't allow people to learn either. And we are stuck in a cycle of bitterness and complaining and feeling bad, even if we don't say it out loud. So these are some of the things that come up with the 5 retrogrades, with Uranus creating this square to the full moon. Now, embracing change, we all say we want to change, but I always say, but we want it to change the way we want it to change. And it doesn't work that way most of the time, right? So embracing change and innovation. The full moon is a period of culmination, illumination, as I said. So because it highlights change and innovation, it's an excellent time to readdress and revalue, right? Reevaluate how we've been evolving and where we might need to pivot. Pivot in our jobs, pivot in ourselves, pivot in our fitness. Even our fitness routines will our body will get used to it and we won't see the dividends as much because our body's used to it. So how do we shake things up, right? How do we think outside the box and not go, well, it doesn't exist, so there, but say, well, it doesn't exist, so I'm going to make it or create it or try to co-create it with somebody else. We may find ourselves inspired to explore new ideas, adopt alternative approaches, and challenge traditional norms. Now, this energy can manifest in many ways. On a personal level, you might feel stronger to pursue a new project, adopt a radical change in your lifestyle. Perhaps you've been considering a significant career shift or contemplating a move towards a more unconventional path. Aquarius's influence supports these bold moves, especially if they align with your deeper values and aspirations. So check in with that, right? Like I said, I have to check in with how I'm going to update my grand vision. What is my vision for my life? On a collective level, this full moon can promote societal shifts and bring societal issues to the forefront. And don't we need that, right? It might inspire grassroots movements or highlight the need for reform in certain areas. Aquarius is a sign that values equality and justice. So issues related to human rights, environmental sustainability, and community and well-being might come into sharper focus. Now, how do we balance these individual and collective needs? One of the key aspects of the full moon in Aquarius is balancing individual desires with collective desires. So hard. Aquarius often is associated with group dynamics and social progress, but it also emphasizes the importance of individual expression and freedom. So one of the things that I say is don't harm anyone. But at the same time, if we use a plastic container, we are harming fish, we're harming water, and we're harming ourselves, right? So it can become so overwhelming. How do we change and tend to the environment and tend to each other? So we start bit by bit, so this full moon is going to emphasize the importance of individual expression and freedom. Right? Our individual expression and freedom. And also, how can we lend our individual expression and freedom to a cause that means something to us and bring this information, this art, this creativity to bigger spheres? So during this time, it's very valuable to reflect on how your unique skills and what I call, working our weird and perspectives, how are these unique perspectives, these eccentric or genius zones can contribute to a greater good? How can you use your individuality to support and uplift others? This full moon encourages you to think about ways in which you can make a positive impact, whether through community involvement, collaborative projects, and simply by being a supportive presence in personal relationships. So there's many ways. One of the ways we can harness this, I already suggested, is journaling about our aspirations and dreams, right? Particularly those that are about societal impact and innovation, vision boards, meditation focused on future goals. Additionally, join community initiatives. We're creating a group here in Harrisburg for the Hispanic Heritage Month. We've been already working on it. There will be a lot of events that we'll be releasing here and putting into action in the next coming month. So it's exciting to support this community. I'm so excited about that. So it's a great time to engage in activities that stimulate your intellect, your creativity, that stimulate community benefits, that benefits community rather. Participate in discussions or brainstorming sessions, attend workshops. The Aquarian influence favors activities that expand your horizons and foster a sense of connection with others. So some of my final thoughts: spend some time alone, reassess, readdress, review. This full moon in Aquarius on August 19th, which was yesterday, is a moment to embrace change and envision new possibilities. Let's not dwell on what didn't work in the past, maybe only to be well, that didn't work now, so let's do this now. But it's time to also forgive ourselves for staying stuck for so long, because all of us stay stuck in something, because maybe we want a different outcome, maybe we're really personally invested, but this full moon is inviting us to move on. right? The future is here, and how are we addressing it in every area of our lives? It invites us to harness this innovative spirit, to challenge our conventional thinking on anything, on caretaking, on being part of family and community, on love, right? We're all always changing. What does success mean to us in this new state of being that we are today? It invites us to harness all of this innovative spirit and to contribute meaningfully to the world around us by reflecting on how our individual path intersects with our broader social goals. We can navigate this full moon's energy in a way that fosters both personal growth and communal advancement. As the moon lights up the Aquarian sky, let it illuminate your path towards a more dynamic and inclusive future. So I hope that this has supported you. I went in depth and guided people through a journey in my Bruja Rising. If you're interested in finding out more, let me know. I will send you a link and some info. But just know that we are in this cycle. We are flowing, we are moving, we are grooving, and it's time to review and to pivot and really up-level ourselves by giving and allowing ourselves to have a bigger, wider perspective. Even if we feel like we're stuck somewhere, asking our inner selves, our deepest knowing, what do I most need to know about? How can I innovate in this current state that I'm in? What is my most unconventional power, talent, and gift that I can now offer the world? So thank you all so much. I'm sending you all so much love. Si tienen preguntas, if you have any questions, if you'd like to ask me about my services, please reach out. Sending you all mucho amor, and may you light up your life with innovative ways that also serve others. Mucho amor.